Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Today I'm taking you through the process of illustrating a monk using a photo reference by Steve Evans Photography. I'm really happy with how this illustration is turning out, especially in terms of coloring, so let's go through the process step by step. I'm starting with the line art of the monk, using the reference image, mainly trying to understand the overall shape. I'm slightly exaggerating a few features to make the design more interesting. Rather than copying the reference exactly, the illustration is staying somewhere between realism and a subtle caricature. I'm reducing the opacity of the first sketch to around 10%, and on a new layer, I'm slowly adding more details over the initial sketch. I'm also roughly sketching the background on another layer to understand the composition better, using a two-point perspective. The details are kept very loose, as this is only to get a basic idea of the background, and most of the detailing is happening later during the coloring stage. At this point, I'm starting to block in the colors. The character is kept well lit, so the background is planned to be darker. I'm using a dark brown ochre for the background, with the light source coming from behind the character. I'm also figuring out a coloring approach, and here I'm fixing on using the lasso tool to fill in colors, as it helps keep the shapes clearly defined. I'm introducing some gray tones around the jaw and beard area, as the presence of facial hair and thicker skin naturally creates a cooler, slightly muted look. Even though the light is coming from behind, there's a yellow tone on the cheek. This is coming from the light bouncing off the hand in front and reflecting back onto the face, adding a warm bounce light to the skin. I'm coloring the clothes entirely with the lasso tool, and since the robe has thick folds and strong creases, this approach is helping in forming solid shapes. During this stage, the areas catching light are kept in lighter, warmer tones. I'm adding darker brown tones to the deepest areas, including the dress folds, eyebrows, and mouth, which is helping bring more clarity to the overall form. I'm adding a subtle bluish-gray tone to the forehead and cheeks, mainly on the planes of the face that are facing the sky, as these areas are reflecting cooler skylight rather than warmer sunlight. Now comes the most exciting stage of coloring, where I'm adding strong highlights. I'm using the lasso tool to define the highlight shapes and applying a bright white color with a slight yellow tone. This instantly shifts how the illustration reads, making the depth and perspective much clearer. To avoid the highlights looking too solid, I'm adding texture along their edges using a textured brush. On the head, this is making the highlight feel like hair, and I'm applying the same technique on the cloth to suggest its rough, fibrous edges. I'm also softening the highlights along the inner edges so they don't feel rigid. I'm placing a mid-tone between the highlight and the base color of the skin or cloth to create a gradual transition. And then using a soft brush with low opacity white to gently enhance the glow. You might notice a warm glow on the ear. Since the ear is thin, light is passing through it, and the blood underneath is adding a reddish tint, which helps communicate the thickness and translucency of the ear. I'm now moving on to the background and hiding the character layer so I can focus fully on it. Using the lasso tool, I'm blocking in the main shapes, such as the windows and structural beams of the monastery, and adding familiar Buddhist architectural details in a loose manner with some vibrant colors, since the background is going to be softened later for depth. The same architectural details are being added on the opposite side of the wall, using darker tones to indicate shadow. With the background finished, I'm beginning to work on the bubbles in the foreground, starting by sketching their outlines using a light tone. Since bubbles reflect a range of colors, I'm adding hints of blue, yellow, green, violet, and purple to capture that effect. Once the outlines are ready, I'm moving on to adding reflective light to the bubbles, placing highlights where the light hits and also on the opposite surface due to the transparency of the bubble. I'm using multiple light hues and finishing it with the same glow technique used earlier for the monk. I'm then using a light opacity brush to add color inside the bubbles, giving them a sense of translucency, followed by a few lighter spots to enhance realism. With a splatter brush, I'm adding small dots here and there to suggest dust and floating particles. For the final touch, I'm blurring the background using a Gaussian blur effect, and at the end, I'm adding my signature to complete the illustration. I hope you enjoyed watching this process. If you liked the video, do like, share, and subscribe for more illustration and process content, and feel free to comment your thoughts and feedback below.